we've talked about this several times, about how we make connections when we're reading a story. There's 3 kinds of connections we can make in a story. What's one of them, Isaiah? Do that all the time, y'all.
Text to self.
Text to self. What does that mean?
It reminds you of something you've experienced.
Right. A text to self reminds me of something that happened to myself, something I experienced. What's another one, Gracie?
Text to world.
Text to world. What does that mean? Yes, it's something like maybe a lesson you learned or something. It connects to a lesson or something that happened in our world. Makes you think of something that happened in our world, or it connects to a lesson. That's text to world. And what's the other one, Chase? Text to text. And what does that mean? Text to text. What does that mean? You should know without having to read it. Kate, help him out.
It's like another movie or another book.
Right. It reminds you of another book or another movie that you watched. Yes, it reminds you of a book that you read or a movie that you watched. That's called text to text. So there's 3 kinds of connections. When you read, find ways to text is like things in your own life. Something that happened to you, text to self. Something you've read before or watched before is text to text, or a lesson that you've learned or something that's happened in our world is text to world. So we are going to read 2 stories, 2 Cinderella stories, okay? And we're going to think about what kind of connection we can have. Before we do that, we'll go over vocabulary. So the first word is chore. Say the word.
Chore.
Chore. A chore is a job that you must do. So his chore is taking out the trash. All right. Thrilled. Say the word. Thrilled. When you are thrilled, you are excited. Thrilled is another word for excited. Superb. Say the word. Something superb is the very best. So this food he's thinking how superb this food is. Something that's the very best. Okay. Beamed. Say the word.
Beamed.
This boy beamed. That means he gave us a big smile. That's what beamed means. Everyone beam at me. Give me a big smile. Yep, you're all beamed. Beaming. Pleasure. Say the word.
Pleasure.
Is a feeling of happiness or joy. So this girl gets pleasure from reading a story. Something that gives us joy. Jealous. Say the word. When you're jealous, you're angry because somebody has something that you want. So maybe this girl's jealous of the baby because mom's giving the baby all the attention. Something that you want that someone else has. Dashed. Say the word. Dashed means you ran really quickly. So they dashed out of the bus. Hobbled. Say the word. Hobbled's when you walk in an uneven way. So like Chase today hurt his leg on the playground, so he hobbled. Didn't you? Kind of. But it's all better now? Good. So he hobbled a little bit today. Okay, so get out your reading books. And you're going to turn to page 189. If the Shoe Fits. 2 Cinderella stories. Okay, so I gave you a connections worksheet, and they're the same on both sides because we're going to read 2 stories. So while I'm reading the story to you, if you have a connection, you can say what you read or saw in the story, and it reminded me of what? So tell me what happened in the story, and it reminded you of what, and then you circle text to self, text to text, or text to world. So you can do this anytime during the story, or you can wait till the end of the story and listen to the story and then do it at the end. All right, if the shoe fits. So the first story is called A Cinderella Named Zoe. A Cinderella Named Zoe. All right. Once, not long ago, there was a girl named Zoe. She loved school, especially math, PE, and science. Her stepbrother, Friend, enjoyed playing tricks on Zoe. One day, their mother tried logging onto her laptop, but her password wasn't accepted. Finn, did you change my password? No, Mom. Try Zoe's password. It worked. Zoe, cried their mother. You know the rule. You can't use my computer without permission. Instead of going to Randall's party tomorrow, you'll do Finn's chore and mow the lawn. But Mom, I didn't. Laughing, Finn went outside. So who are the characters right now? Who are the characters in the story, Xavier? Mom, Zoe, and Finn. That's right. All right. Who do you think changed the password? Who do you think changed the password? Who do you think, Emsley? Finn, or the mom, or Zoe? Finn, you think the brother did it? Okay. Who else thinks the brother did it? What makes you think the brother did it, Lily? Because he was laughing. Okay. Why can't Zoe go to the bar party? Why can't she go to the party, Blaze?
Because she thinks that she logged on.
Yeah, her mom thinks she got onto her computer and changed the password. I wonder, does that make a connection with you? Does that remind you of some time when you got in trouble? Maybe that's the connection you can make. Her not getting to go to the party might make you think of something in your own life. So that's maybe a connection you could write. You don't have to write one yet. You don't have to. Randall had invited all his friends to his birthday party. His mom was baking a delicious chocolate cake. He hoped Zoe would come. She was one of his best friends. The next day, Finn and their mom left for Randall's party. The doorbell rang. It was Zoe's favorite neighbor, Miss Fortuna. She always sparkled. Want to go to the party? How did you know? I have a few secrets, dear. But the lawn, began Zoe. Miss Fortuna pulled bright red garden shears from her bag. To Zoe's amazement, the shears flew out of Mrs. Fortuna's hands, and the lawn was mowed in seconds. How do you know you are reading a fairy tale? How do I know this is a fairy tale? What just happened that tells me this couldn't happen in real life, Heather? Yes, the shears flew out of her hand and they did all the mowing themselves. Could that happen in real life? No. Anyone thinking about something else right now that the story reminds you of? Maybe you have a connection to another book you read or another movie or something that happened in your life. All right, Zoe was thrilled. She ran to get her favorite shoes, but Finn had hidden them. What will I wear? Miss Fortuna handed her a pair of golden tennis shoes. Zoe thought they were superb. That means she thinks they're amazing. On the way to Randall's house, one of Zoe's shoes came untied and tumbled onto the street. It was run over by a bus. What happens on the way to the party? What just happened on the way to the party, Wyatt? One of her shoes fell off and got ran over by a bus. How do Zoe and Miss Fortuna feel about what happened? Look at them. Look at their picture. What does the picture show? How are they feeling, Corbin?
They gasp.
They kind of like gasp. That's right. They're concerned, aren't they? Like, uh-oh. That's what their faces look like. My shoe, yelled Zoe. Mrs. Fortuna consoled her. 2 shoes don't make wishes come true. Randall beamed when Zoe walked in. He invited her to sit next to him. Noticing her one shoe, he thought, this is something new. Then he said, cool, everyone take off one of your shoes, just like Zoe. It was time to cut the cake. The candles were lit, and before Randall blew them out, Zoe smiled. One of her wishes had come true. Look at them. Look under the table. They each have just one shoe on.
I know.
How does Randall show that he's a good friend? How does he show that he's a good friend? Gracie.
He wasn't being mean and making fun of her.
Yeah, he didn't make fun of her. He made her fit in, didn't he? So maybe that makes a connection. Maybe one time a friend made you fit in. So that could be your connection, that Randall made her fit in and everyone took their shoes off and it reminds you of something that happened in your life. That could be a connection. All right. That's the end of that story. So I want you to think about a connection and I want you to write it on the connections worksheet. I read this or I saw this and it reminded me of this. And then circle text to self, text to text, or text to world. All right, so we had a couple good connections there. We had one person that said it reminded them of the movie Cinderella, which was a text to text. We had someone that said it reminded them, the trick that her brother played reminded her of April Fool's Day, which is text to world. And some of you said it reminded you of when her shoe fell off, it reminded you of when your shoe fell off or another person's shoe fell off. So that was text to self. Very, very good. So now the second story is called A Cinderella Named Kwan. And this is a Korean story. Korea is there's a North Korea and a South Korea, and those are countries. So, long, long ago, a baby girl was born. Her father named her Kwan, which means strong. Sadly, her mother died. Years later, Kwan's father remarried. His new wife had her own daughter named Hee, which means pleasure. Kwan's stepmother and stepsister were jealous of Kwan and unkind to her. Does that remind you of another story? Yes. Yep. So how do Kwan's stepmother and stepsister feel about her? How do they feel about her? Emma? They're mean, but what was the word that they used? It's one of our vocabulary words. Gracie? When someone, you're jealous. That's right. They were jealous and mean to her. What details tell you how Kwan feels? How do you know how Kwan feels? It doesn't say how she feels in the words, but how do you know how she feels? Kate?
In the picture,
Yes.
it shows that she has kind of a frown on her.
She does. She's sad. And does she feel like she's part of the family? No, she's not even standing by the family. They're all together and she's away from them. So she doesn't feel like she's part of the family. So maybe that reminds you of a time you didn't feel like part of a family. Or maybe this story is reminding you of another story where there's a stepmother that's mean to the main character. One beautiful spring morning, Kwan's stepmother said, "I'm taking Hee to the festival." "Can I go, honorable mother?" asked Kwan. "Yes, but first you must weed the garden." Ah, what did Zoe have to do before she could go to the party?
Weed the garden.
No, Zoe on the other story. What did she have to do? What was her chore, Xavier? Mow the yard. And what does Kwan have to do in this story, Isaiah?
Weed the garden.
Yeah, pretty close, isn't it? It's pretty close to the same chore. He and her mother laughed as they left for the city. Kwan's heart was heavy. The garden was filled with weeds. She went outside and was surprised by a large brown cow who said, "I'll eat the weeds." "Yes, please," Kwan said. The cow chomped all the weeds in a flash. Okay, how do I know this is a fairy tale? What just happened that makes this a fairy tale? Cooper, what just happened? How do I know this is something that couldn't happen in real life? Right, the cow talked. So that can't happen in real life. All right. So the cow chomped all the weeds in a flash. So just like Zoe's story, she had the magic shears do her chores. A magic cow just did Kwan's chores. Suddenly, a flock of songbirds appeared in the sky, carrying a lovely robe and slippers. "For the strong one," they said. Thrilled, Kwan dashed down the road to the bridge crossing the river. She tripped and fell. One of her slippers splashed into the water. "Oh, no!" cried Kwan, watching the slipper float away. Kwan hobbled home and hid the gown and slipper in one old trunk. Does Kwan go to the festival? No, she ran away. So she ran away, and it says that she hobbled home and hid the gown and slipper in one old trunk. So there went her slipper. It fell in the river. So she didn't go to the festival.